like the Dragon Ball stuff, like the anime stuff, seems to be like the future for a lot of
Oh,
this right now.
yeah.
And I wish I would have spent, a little bit more time getting the grails and cells that I wanted earlier.
Welcome back to it's always been called the PokeRadar podcast, but this might be a different vibe, a new season talking about something more than Pokemon cards. It's kind of a resurgence, I guess, of a newly discovered hobby. And I have a new friend, a new guest. He goes by StreyFlexin on Instagram. Yaniv, what's going on, man? How are you?
Not much, man. Very excited to be on the podcast. This is a cool new kind of emerging collectible space that all the card guys have been jumping on, and comic guys have known about it for a few years now. But it's seemed to be popping off the last year or so. So it's really exciting, and happy to chat with you about it today.
Awesome. Yeah. So I'm fairly new to it. I mean, we'll kind of talk about the first thing I bought, when I bought it, and all that stuff. But I want to learn as much as I can from you. Learn about, we could teach the people how to go about collecting animation cells. I mean, obviously, you got comic book art, you got comic books, all that stuff. I just do the cells, and I've got some manga and stuff. But yeah, tell us. I mean, just to start, tell us a little bit about yourself. I haven't done a podcast in like a year and a half, so we'll see how this goes. But tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll just kind of start chit chatting. I actually have. I want to after we learn about you, I have a cell that just came in the mail today that I haven't looked at. We talked about it yesterday, but we're gonna reveal it, I guess, after. So go ahead, give a quick intro. Cool. Give a quick intro on yourself.
Yeah, sure. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Yaniv. I go by StreyFlexin Collectibles on Instagram and Facebook. And I've been in the collectibles business for about 10 years now. My passion started with comic books, which is still my biggest passion for sure. It's old school comics, old Marvel, DC. And then I kind of evolved, as you start collecting more and more, your collecting taste gets more niche and more, you need something else to excite you, really, right? So you just kind of going deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole. And then I started getting into comic book art, which was really awesome because it's all one-of-one pieces that actually make the comic books. And then my good friend Josh, who may even appear on this podcast later, he got me hooked into the cells. He showed me my first Dragon Ball cell, and at first, a lot of people don't even know what it is. He was posting them, and people were like, "Wow, you drew that? That looks amazing. Looks just like the show. It's incredible, right?" It's like, "Oh yeah, he's great." But once you realize what it is, and you see this is actually the drawings from the show, or the actual still frames, like especially the painted cells, it's actually what you see. I was like, damn, I was just hooked. I was like, why are people buying statues and cards, this and that, when you can actually own a piece of the show and put it on the wall? And it's a piece of art. And so that kind of got me hooked. I bought a few cells and kind of snowballed into it today. But I collect many different things. I mean, I have American animation over there, a Spider-Man animated series, like obviously Dragon Ball, different animes like Akira, Evangelion, and I just collect what's fun. A lot of Disney stuff too, but I'd say the anime has been really, really fun to collect and really popular, and a lot of people have a strong connection to Dragon Ball in particular and Dragon Ball Z. So it's been fun being in the community and trying to pick up some of those grail pieces.
Yeah, that's awesome. You've sold me one of my current grail pieces, I guess. I mean, that's where I've been doing Pokemon cards for 10 years. And I mean, my name originated from Pokemon and the Dragon Ball radar. So PokeRadar. And my logo is even like it's a Dragon Ball radar with, looks like a Pokeball. So Dragon Ball's always been
of both.
It's always been the main passion. Honestly, I like Dragon Ball Z way more than anything else. But Pokemon just became like the only sustainable thing or growing thing. And Dragon Ball was it grew itself, like the cards. I collect a lot of the score stuff, and it's grown a lot, but there's like very few buyers. So finding something new like this, I've actually felt kind of like how I felt early in the Pokemon days. So I've gone a little hard. I don't know if I'm doing the right thing or not, but I like what I'm doing, and I'm excited. So it's time to show this off.
Oh, sweet. Let's see.
I pre-opened it because the way it gets shipped was quite a bit. It would have taken like 5 minutes to open this thing. But
Yeah.
I think curious to see. Oh, it came with the Mandarake
Oh,
authentication.
you
That's
have
good.
the. That's
That's
cool.
good.
Yeah.
Not
Folder.
all the ones
That's
that I
nice.
bought came with it.
I noticed a lot of people haven't saved those really.
I don't know why you want it. I think it adds.
I think it does add, but as long as you have a scan of it online and you can
Okay.
kind of see it and verify it, it helps. But
Yeah. All right.
it is nice to have the paperwork.
The problem with cell collectors is all the tape they use. You got to stop using tape. It's so bad.
They use pretty crappy tape too. So.
But let's get this thing out safely. All right. Well, all right. We'll put that down. We don't need to show that off. Okay. I'm not going to look at it. I'm just going to put it up here. Oh, it's upside down.
Oh, upside down. Oh, shit.
Look at that.
Dude, that's probably the best Android 18 cell I've ever seen. Honestly.
That's insane.
Best standalone cell ever.
She has quite a few pans. I haven't seen them like available for sale, but just in the show, she has quite a few pans. I mean, I was kind of shocked to see. Like, I mean, the price of this was really good. I thought it would be way more expensive just because it's Android 18 and people, who doesn't have a crush on Android 18? So
yeah, people like all the waifus and all the girl cells. You'll notice that.
I know you can't see what I'm doing, but I wonder, it's probably stuck. Oh no, we got the mouth. Nice. And then so it's a multi-layer, and then
you got an original background there.
It's definitely stuck, so I'm not going to play around with that. But yeah, looks like the original background.
Yeah, no, it's perfect. So you could even see at the top where the paint ends. That's a good way to tell.
Okay.
That it's original. That's amazing.
That's a nice little tip. But yeah, I think I'll just kind of go about showing off at least one cell per episode or so. But it looks really good. Faded lines, but whatever. It is what it is.
Pretty standard. The thing with fading is, a lot of times that's how a lot of people tell if they're real. When you have a fake cell and the lines are super thick, it's super black, it's a little bit of a giveaway with some of the cells. But when you have a little bit of that orange fading, you could tell it's been aged, and it's normal. These things weren't made to last. They were done pretty cheap and pretty quick. If you think about it, they painted so many of them and they were just kind of, pushing them out. But the fact that we're even able to collect a lot of them is really cool. So there's a lot of in other animation collecting world, like in, let's say, the Grinch. I collect a lot of the Grinch, the famous 60s Dr. Seuss.
Yeah.
And with that, they were so cheap over there, even worse than Dragon Ball. They would split up every single part. So like the head would be moving, the body would be different. So every piece would be a different cell. So the problem is now when they went to sell them and people wanted to collect it, they recreated a lot of different portions of those cells because they would only have a head. And there would be one body, and they'd have a few different heads. So they recreate the body. Yeah,
that's funny.
Pretty much. So with Dragon Ball, it's cool because a lot of them, they are multi-layered cells, obviously, but they generally didn't split it down that much. So like you would see full character shots usually on different frames, different cells.
Yeah, and I mean, from what I found out, or at least again, I'm still learning a lot, but it seems like pan cells tend to be one of ones. I mean. Yeah. There's a lot of similar shots you can get of like the normal cells. So I've been dubbed the Pan Man at this point. It's like
I love 1, 2, 3. Man.
I think that's my 6th pan.
Which is really astounding. The fact that you got in and got 6 pans already in such a short amount of time is pretty amazing because pans are tough to come by. They don't make them for they don't even make them for every episode, right? It's only special scenes, special occasions. And then people don't like to sell them because they're so cool and big, right? Most cells are about like 9.5 by 10.5 or so. Just small little pieces. It's like smaller than 11 by 14 paper. It's just a small piece. But when you get the pans, and then they literally instead of the camera like panning up on a small cell, they'll just paint it larger and then literally just pan across the whole thing. And a lot of them come with backgrounds, which is cool. A lot of the pans, because they're already so big, they kept the backgrounds with them. And when you get an original pan with its original background, I mean, to me, there's nothing more special than that. Yeah. Maybe Harmony cells, but that's about it.
Which I don't have yet.
I don't have them either. They're tough.
And I've only got two of the pans came with a sketch or a Douga, or whatever you call them. See, I don't even know the proper terminology. I just call them sketches.
We can go over that real quick if you want.
Yeah, let's do some education real quick.
We could do some of that.
So you mentioned let's start with Harmony cells because you just mentioned that, and they are like from what I've learned the most epic part of collecting and or one of them at least.
They are. They're like the trophy cards, as you call it, for
Yeah,
cell collecting. They're true scarce pieces for sure. Because again, not every episode would have them. Only every few episodes, and it would be during very key moments, and they were done differently too. So the way harmonies are done, the character, everything's painted on a background, and then they would add a cell line layer over top. So it kind of has like a very different, realistic, gritty painting feel to it. It looks like just a still painting.
right.
So if you rewatch it and you play the harmonies, you can kind of see that. The way I like to akin it to is, I don't know if you've seen SpongeBob
Oh
as a
yeah,
kid. I don't know if
yeah,
you
oh yeah,
So do you remember like when they would show like a close up of the Krabby Patty and it would be like super like intense and detailed? Like those are
yeah.
harmonies. Like
Okay, so
they just it's like a whole other
yeah,
medium of art.
that's what Brandon said in that he did that live stream the other day. He said, or like last week, 2 weeks ago. That yeah, it's like, so it's actually the full thing is painted minus, you said, the lines. They
Yes.
just do lines on the
Yeah,
top.
the black lines they do on a cell layer and
Okay, so
they put that over.
so then it's like a true painting then. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
And
it is. So
those,
it's pretty cool.
and I would assume those are, I mean, the big scare is vinegar syndrome and everything, right? With
Right.
cells, and so those technically wouldn't be
No, because there's no paint on the cell layer, right?
right.
On the acetate. There's just the Xerox line. A lot of those lines sometimes are copied over from the drawing. So I can get into that briefly. So when the first like the first process of animation, they'll sometimes they'll have the storyboards, which I'm sure you've seen a few people post, like
Yeah.
Brandon posts a lot of them. Well,
Yeah.
they'll say like, like a key line of what's going on and then just a few key frames. But then when they actually get in the process of drawing what they want to show, they call these the Gengas. So Genga. And that's Japanese for rough drawing. So it's like the
Mhm.
animated rough. And so here's like a example of a Genga. So this is a cool piece. This is actually the death of Frieza.
Okay.
That's one of my grails.
Is
But the
is
Gengas,
is this a Genga? Can you see that, Freezer?
it's hard to see from there. If you could bring it up closer, and I could show you a really quick and easy way to tell between Gengas and drawings. Okay, let's see. That looks like possibly a Douga. So the way to tell a Douga is the finished drawing. The way to tell is the finished ones. They'll have the key frame number on the top right corner.
Okay.
So I don't know if you could see that because it's in the frame.
I don't want to take it out right now.
No, you don't have to bother it now. So they'll have it in the top right corner.
Okay.
They'll have it away from the art because all this art is going to be copied onto a cell, which is going to be the final thing you see on TV.
Okay.
So they'll have the letter, which indicates the layer of the cell, and then they'll have the number, which is the frame. So this is an A1. So meaning it's one layer. A is the most bottom layer, and then 1 is the first frame. And if they're circled like this one is right here, that means it's a key frame.
Okay.
So the ones that aren't circled are in between frames, and those could have been done by in between animators. So they'll have key animators and in between animators. So the key animators are the main ones that kind of formed everything. They do the key frames, and then there's the newer animators with less experience that come in and fill it up. That's not to say that they're bad, but it's more of like in between shots rather than a key frame.
Well, yeah,
So,
I mean, like you said, they do so many of these, and you need, you just need a lot of people working on this. Otherwise,
definitely
it takes forever, like Studio Ghibli. So,
yeah, but I mean that's why their art is so great.
Yeah.
So with the Genga, so here's that Frieza piece. You could see that the number and the letter, it's B5? Yeah,
Okay.
it's kind of not in the corner. It's kind of where the art is, and that's an easy way to tell. It'll be kind of somewhere around the page, not in the top right corner.
So
every time it's in the top right corner, it's a finished drawing. Also, it's not as clean. Like if you look here, the lines are going. It's not as finished. You could see it's pretty rough.
Okay, so it's Genga, Douga, Cell from like a finished,
correct.
from like a stage standpoint.
Once,
and then
once they start the animation, yeah.
And then there's these, which I pointed out yesterday.
There's layouts, yeah. So those are cool. So if you bring that closer to the camera, so those are cool because they'll have the episode stamped on. So you know what episode? That's episode 281. It also has this box. If you see that box around Goku, you see that the inner box and then there's an inside box. That's actually what you see on TV. So that's like the frame. Yeah. So when you look at it on TV, that's actually what gets shot. Because if you notice when you collect these cells, you get actually a lot more art than is actually shown, right? There's a little bit of, cropping, a little bit of kind of area that you don't see. You get more of the art through the original art than you get more of the frame through the original art than the show. So that's how you know that it's on
Sweet.
TV. Similar to this here is another one you could see. It's also a layout. So this one's funny.
That's crazy.
Yeah, this one's kind of wild. I don't know if we could show this, but
Oh, we will. I
okay.
don't. Yeah, I'm not censoring any of this.
There we go. It's original. This is actually from Dragon Ball Z, believe it or not. This is Hitler from Dragon Ball Z. This is from movie 12, the Fusion movies, where they brought all these villains back from the dead to life. And
Yeah.
obviously they brought back one of the worst villains,
A real
of all
life
time.
one. That's the crazy thing.
Yep.
Yeah,
and they brought him into it, and they had to obviously make a joke about blue eyes and yellow hair, obviously, because the Saiyans are. So they did that, and it was a little gag. And I've been trying to find one for my whole cell collecting life of Dragon Ball, which has been 6 years of collecting Dragon Ball, and finally I got one. It's a correction layer. So what these are, these yellow sheets. I have another one here.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, because I don't know if we spoke about those. I don't know if you have any of these.
I don't think so.
They're very clear. They're very see-through almost, and they have a yellow hinge to them. And basically, what they are, they would be sitting on top of the finished Douga or Genga, and it'll be used to correct the lines. So let's say they drew, Goku's shoulders too wide, or they didn't like the hair, then they'll correct it. And instead of redrawing everything, they'll just correct the parts that they need corrected. Put this on top of the frame, and it'll be able to copy through because it's very, very see-through. It's very, very light.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Because even the Trunks pan, I have a separate sheet that's the aura, and it's more see-through, I guess. But okay,
so it could be like a correction aura layer, which happens.
It's probably just a layer, but okay, yeah. So there's all these different parts to it. So
there are, yeah.
I'll tell you the first thing that I ever bought when I bought it, and then I want to hear about yours. So the first thing that I ever bought, it was in 2020. I was crushing it with Pokemon, was trying to figure out other things to buy, and I remember I was on Discord with Squeaks. He is a co-host of one of my older podcasts, Squeaks Game World, and I think he kind of I forget how we stumbled upon it, but I know he told me about it, and he knew a little bit about it. So I was looking for, and I was watching Naruto at the time, so I was like, okay, I got to find an Itachi. Where's Itachi? And I learned kind of quickly that they didn't do actual painted cells for Naruto. Yep. It was all just all this Genghis Nugas stuff. And I found an Itachi, the best looking one. It's a portrait. I had no idea what I was doing. I overpaid like crazy because I had no clue, but I just liked it. And it came with a bunch of different pieces. And I still haven't really figured out what it's from. I think it's the Bingo Book shop. But
oh, that's sweet.
Yeah. So I bought this Itachi. It cost me $2,500. Came with 6 different pieces. So I have the same shot with Itachi. And I got it in. I was like, this is cool, but then I never bought anything again until this year, basically. So yeah, 2020, I bought my first animation thing, and then just completely forgot about it because I was so worried about, how do we know this is real? How many are there? Again, am I paying a fair amount? I had no clue. So that
those are all valid concerns.
So that was my first entrance into it, and I know collectibles. I know how it all works and everything. But I was just kind of buying something cool, so I didn't really care. But yeah, that was my true entrance into animation cell collection. It was 2020, buying that. And then taking a long break. So,
hey, you're back, man. That's all that matters.
But a
lot of people still to this day don't even know about it. I mean, they're just finding out now through Instagram posts and through other people like you that have been been in the card hobby for a while, and now you're sharing it. And people are like, holy shit, this is really cool. Bronomath Brandon was a big kind of implementer in getting a lot of card guys involved because, again, a lot of people didn't know these things even existed, right? And people are kind of wary at first, is it real? Is it fake? How can I tell? Am I overpaying? So those are all valid concerns, and happy to kind of go through some of that stuff.
So what was the first piece you ever bought? Do you remember?
I actually have it here. Yeah, I do remember. I have it here. It was a goof cell. I mean, that's fine. It's kind of like a meme cell to me, but it's of Krillin getting stabbed by Frieza. It's so great.
Oh, there's blood on it too. That's cool.
Blood on it, which is cool because you don't see too much blood. And for me, it was really funny because I don't know. I've always when it comes to animation, which is a little bit different than these other hobbies, I mean, it's similar in an extent. I guess you could remember having the cards as a kid, but like, there's some scenes from TV shows or movies that I remember so vividly for whatever reason.
Hmm.
This was just so graphic and out there when I was watching it. He was getting stabbed and the blood was going everywhere, so it just stuck with me. So then, when my good friend Josh showed me this piece, I was like, dude, I need that. I need that. Like I know that scene like by heart. I was like, I need that, and that was kind of my first piece that I got in. And I did kind of. I wish I jumped in a little bit harder at first with Dragon Ball. I had a few more pieces, like I bought a Frieza and then a Goku, and then I went to Disney, which is another passion of mine, like old Disney movies. So
Hmm.
some Snow White pieces, but man, like the Dragon Ball stuff, like the anime stuff, seems to be like the future for a lot of
Oh,
this right now.
yeah, yeah.
And I wish I would have spent, a little bit more time getting the grails and cells that I wanted earlier
Hmm.
with Dragon Ball anime rather than waited, because a lot of that stuff's gone up a lot. But at the end of the day, like as long as you're in it, that's the main thing.
Yeah.
Even when I got in, I felt like it was too late, and like everyone that gets in
It's it's
feels the
it,
same
it's always
same
it's
kind
the
of
same
way.
for Pokemon. It's the same for everything. It's
Yeah,
always, no matter what, you never do enough. You never got it at the right time. You never
yep.
bought the right things. Sold at the wrong time. Oh, forever and always, it'll be like that. I'd love to get some Pixar ones if that was a thing. I know. I think I saw like a Mulan post today.
They
Um,
yeah, yeah, and this is just a cool, just little interest, like, important history about animation. So most studios, like at least in Japan, they'll go into like the 2000 or so, like early 2000 or end of 1990s, early
mhm.
2000s. That's when they would stop doing cells. Some studios that had, a lower budget, they would continue doing cells. Some movies would still do cells. But when it came to Disney, the last cell animated feature that they did was Little Mermaid, 1989. That was like the last full feature
Oh.
cell animated thing that they've done. And then after that, so Pixar and all the newer stuff, which a lot of classic movies, great movies, obviously. A lot of that stuff was already digital.
Hmm.
Um, but you can buy sometimes layouts, you could buy drawings, backgrounds, which are cool.
Hmm.
Like what you saw from Mulan is probably colored keys. So they would paint, the background, like they would get the colors that they'd want, they
Okay.
get a rough layout. Sometimes drawings will come up too. So those are kind of cool. But I think that's what makes this collecting hobby so interesting, is that they're done doing cell animation and they're going to just mostly all digital. And all the new studios, anything new is very hard to get. Like anything in the last 5-10 years, the studios are keeping them. They're not letting it go to be traded off and sold. They're keeping it.
Yeah.
So as we kind of progress, getting original pieces of artwork like this that were used to make these shows, it's just going to get harder and harder.
I mean,
And to have tangible
just
artworks and items is so cool.
just like imagine, like, I mean, Studio Ghibli could probably make more money selling all of its cells than they make from the
I mean,
movie. Like,
honestly, probably. I don't know if you've seen some of the sales
I mean,
people have been posting.
there's six figures.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
hundreds of thousands.
200 plus, 300 plus. I saw
Yeah,
one.
I think the last sale was like 400 plus on one on
It's
Mandarake.
insane. Yeah.
Crazy. And that's just one sell. And like a lot of those that have sold for crazy prices, they're good sells, but there are better sells out there.
Well, and they're coming from Japan still, and Japan is still
Yeah.
a I would consider, again, I kind of always consider the U.S. kind of being the main hub for everything. So there's a lot of people unaware of these auctions happening in Japan. So what kind of whales are out there that aren't buying
Yeah.
it yet? So it is interesting. But what did you pay for that Krillin? That first year?
The first Krillin, I think it was about $400 or so.
Okay, so
350, $400.
that's decent value. And that you said was what,
It's
like
decent.
6 years ago, or
Yeah, 6 years ago, something like that.
okay.
And then I bought a few more that were like, a little bit cheaper, 100, 200, $300. I think when I bought
Mhm.
my first $1,000 cell, I was like, dude, why did I spend $1,000 on Dragon Ball and not Disney? And then I went to go buy some Disney stuff, and then I came back, was like, I was asking Josh about these cells. He's like, dude, you're like 2 years late. I'm like, shit. He's like, there were harmonies that were being offered for sale, and I was like,
Dang.
6 years ago. But then once I like realized, like, no, like I actually want to do this and I want to collect some grail pieces, I just went pretty hard and I just bought all the best pieces I could find. Like I'll show you some
Yeah,
some
yeah.
cool
Show
grails
some
that I
stuff
that I
off.
got.
I
This is
the
this
is it,
is one of my favorites here.
the first fight,
Yeah,
Kaioken.
first fight, matching
Dude,
background, Kaioken, Goku versus Vegeta. It's pretty sweet.
that's epic. So my second purchase happened in 2023 during Pokemon Worlds in Japan, and I remember. So the first time I went to Japan was 2017, no, 2019. And I happened to just stumble upon the shop in Nakano. Never, this was 2019. Not
Hmm.
knowing, like, I had just started doing Pokemon well, I was pretty deep in Pokemon, but first trip to Japan, no idea what I was doing. And I stumbled upon that shop out of nowhere. And I was like, oh, this stuff is pretty cool. Didn't buy anything. I didn't ask the guy to see Dragon Ball Z. I didn't know it existed. I didn't know it was a thing. I just
Right.
saw like what he had out. He had all the folders and everything. If you're familiar, I don't know if you've ever been, but this shop in Nakano is kind of like, at least from what I know, one of the more like famous anime sell shops. And so I was like, okay, I'm going back there immediately as soon as I go. So in 2023, I went, I bought a Super Saiyan 3 Goku, I bought 2 coolers, I bought Super Saiyan Vegeta,
Mhm.
and I think that was it. And I ended up selling the Super Saiyan 3 Goku immediately to Bro Namath. Bro Namath, however you say
No
his name.
way.
And
Yeah.
I didn't know him. Like, I didn't, I wasn't like, this cell was cool, but I didn't really care about it. It wasn't like a epic
Right.
scene. It wasn't, Gohan. Like, I just wanted Gohan. Um, and I sold. It was this one actually. It was, and
Oh yeah.
I ended up keeping this, I guess. Which, sorry for scamming you, Brandon. But
Damn, scammer. Scammer get scammed, buddy.
exactly. Um, so 2023 was kind of like the re-entrance into it, and then
Hmm.
obviously now I kind of like slowly tried to learn about it, and then I just went super hard in the last 3 months, and now my whole collection is basically from the last 3 months.
Yeah.
But like, have you been gradual with your cell collection, or have you just kind of been like Disney, and then I feel like Dragon Ball Z, and then I feel like Neon, was it Neon Evangelion,
Yeah,
or how Evangelion,
Evangelion, yeah.
however you pronounce it.
And yeah, so I mean, it's kind of like it kind of goes in spurts. So, and I've noticed this with this hobby in particular. Whereas the cards, and you mentioned this earlier, like it's more sustainable because there's so many card deals happening. There's so many cards, there's so many card buyers. With the sales, it's like there's like 5 months or 6 months, like really good sales coming to market, collections coming out, collectors selling, and then there's like a dry spot where it's like 5 or 6 months of like nothing. Like no one wants to sell anything. There's nothing new to the market. It's just the same crap that's out there. It's like it's kind of boring. But I went hard in I think it was 2020, like during COVID, so like 21, 22, and 23. And I found a lot of my sales. I found this one collector who was selling on eBay, which eBay, which we
Oh,
could talk about, it's a whole wild west. You know, it could either be good or it could be bad. You have to be
yeah,
very careful with eBay. But he was an American seller, which was a good sign. You know, he wasn't like reposted from all these Japanese sites, so he was an American seller. And so I reached out, and I think he had this cell and a few other cells, and he had some pretty good cells he put up. And I was like hitting him up, and I ended up getting his contact, and I bought a whole group of cells. You know, I spent 10 or 20 grand with him. I just bought a whole binder with the cells, really good cells. And Josh and Eric kind of pitched in. We all bought a bunch of stuff together. It
okay,
was like it's kind of like that. You'll notice that happens. Like a lot of like
yeah,
friends get together and like, oh, let's get this, let's get that. He's got these. Like you make an offer on this, I want this, he wants that, and we all kind
that's
of work
awesome.
together to
I love
get
that.
cells, which is fun.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then we started chatting, and I wanted to buy the rest of his collection. I was like, dude, just sell me your whole collection, because he was like, I might sell this. It was like 80% of what he was having. I'm like, just sell me everything. I'll just buy it all. I was like, whatever.
mhm.
And then he's like, I really want this comic book. He wanted a Ninja Turtles one, which is a very valuable comic book. I have it up
There's
there.
one behind you. I can't see it. I think it's just out of frame, but
It's just out of frame.
yeah,
So it's a very desirable comic book. He wanted a first print, so like the original first edition, first printing. They only made 3,000 of them, and at the time, now they've cooled off a bit, but at the time, like peak COVID, they were hot.
yeah,
This a
yeah.
9.0 was the grade I had. I paid 6,000 for it like 8 years ago or something like that, long time ago. And at the time, it was selling like during peak COVID, it was like 30 grand or something. Crazy. And this guy, he just didn't. He's like, I don't know if I ever spend that kind of money. I've really wanted it. It's a grail for me. But as I said, you know what? Instead of me spending all this money with you, I was like, why don't I trade you? You don't have to feel like you're spending all that money. You just trade. And he bought these cells from Japan and from different auction sites years ago. Like he was buying them for the last 20 years. So a lot of them he was into for a good price. So we did a big trade, and I got like 3 full binders of cells after
Wow.
that. Yeah, so that was a big kind of push. And then every now and then you'll find some stuff come up to auction. We could chat a little bit about it, but Mandarake is a big site. That's the
Yeah.
Japanese site. It's like the
Yeah.
Japanese heritage auctions.
So you found the majority of your stuff through a U.S. eBay seller? Because I've
Well,
always bought like I've always looked at Yahoo Japan, Yahoo Mercari. Like
yes.
that's where I would just look at stuff. I never really bought much, and then I discovered Mandarake and figured out how to buy through there. I've been able to buy through there for a long time, just through like a middleman. But that's where I got
Mhm.
the trunks, was Mandarake, and then I spent, I don't know, 5 hours looking at every single Dragon Ball Z cell that's sold that they have up,
Oh my
and
god,
and, and I picked
it's
out the ones that I
heartbreaking, dude.
want. Oh, it's devastating because I have a couple of them now, of the ones
Yeah.
that I want. They were like, oh, this one sold for like $1,000. This one sold,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
$800.
yeah,
It's like
and so
$600, and now it's like 10,
yeah,
$20,000.
exactly. So
It,
but that was cool to like run through that to see what is out there publicly, and then
yes.
obviously discovered Rubber Slug and
Oh
saw
yeah.
as many collections as I could to see again like what's available, what's out there, what exists. Because there's tons of stuff that I've never seen, or I don't know if people have ever seen, or if they even exist still.
And
Um,
that's no, and that's a good point. I mean,
yeah,
that's to me a lot of the fun is finding the cells, just seeing what they look like, just
yeah,
seeing what the original art actually looks like. And my goal is always to push people to share their collections, just so people can see what's out there. I always find it fascinating because you never know, like that. The Hitler drawing from Dragon Ball Z movie 12. Like I could never find an image of a cell or a drawing until this one popped up.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, there are a lot of good spots to buy them. Obviously, when it comes to purchasing any collectible, but especially artwork. Provenance is key. So you want to make sure you're buying it from trusted. If you're buying it privately, it has to be trusted members of the community, people that have been dealing in it, people that are aware. There's other sites like Yahoo Japan. That's a great site. That's like kind of like the eBay of Japan, and it's a little bit tricky to buy. You might need to get like a proxy or someone to help you out.
lots of fakes
There's
right
a
now
few.
too.
There is fakes out there, and we can talk about that. But that's kind of like the eBay of Japan, and then
Yeah,
Mandarake's is a little bit of a higher level in terms of they authenticate everything they have. It's more consignment based, similar to Heritage,
yeah.
right? So Heritage is the other one in the States, which has been doing cells. They've been doing cells in general for the last 20 years, but they've just been doing anime cells in the last 5 or 6 years,
Mm-hmm.
and that's been blowing up because they blew it up to the American market. A lot of the people I'll go there to buy comic books and comic art, and then I see Dragon Ball. It's like, oh, this is cool. And so a lot of cross collecting is happening because of that.
Mm-hmm.
So those are three good sites. There's also Ibo, and there's another one, Akibara. There's a few other auction sites that are around now that do sells as well.
Okay, I still
Um,
don't know all of them, so
it,
we're gonna have to
we,
find those, or
yeah,
give me links after
I'll
this.
I'll send you the info. Um, but definitely, when you're buying it from somebody privately, um, always verify who the seller is, see if they have experience, if they're
Mhm.
known. Provenance is key. You could ask them where they got it from. Also, screen matching is a big way to kind of look at it. So you want to if you can find the screen on TV, like the actual frame, and match it. I could show you guys what a fake cell looks like.
Yeah.
Again, this is the dangers of you buy on eBay, you never know what you're going to get. So there was a lot on eBay that I bought, and 3 cells were real, and then 1 cell was fake. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of weird. This guy just collected random stuff, and he sold it all together as a lot. And I just kept it because I was like, I don't want this to go back out there. I don't want people to ever get scammed by a fake. That's
Right.
the last thing I want to do. And
I
then I also
I
do.
just threw away my fake Dragon Ball uh Shonen Jumps that I bought
Oh yeah,
years ago, because I'm like,
yeah. You just got to trash them.
yeah.
I know. Yeah, because you can't like you don't want to sell it. You can't get it out there, and it would suck for someone else to get screwed by it.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of fakes about that, and then that guy did get apparently it was like some guy that got caught.
Oh,
Yeah, he got arrested because he was
good,
doing all kinds of fakes,
good,
which is
good.
good. But I kept this so that like nobody gets it, and also I could show people the differences of like what a real versus a fake cell
Yeah,
is.
walk me through it, because I'm terrified. I mean, I bought all my stuff from like notable sellers, I guess, or
Yeah.
collectors, right? So I assume they're fine. They come with most of them came with the Mandarake certification too, which I've been able to match up the damage, which is good. But still, like I feel like you know people are redoing the lines to make it look nicer. People are painting over, or I feel like it's something that could be redone.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, look, right, when there's money involved in any hobby or anything, there's going to be people that are trying to take advantage, and
Mhm.
it's a fact. When I first started collecting cells, fakes weren't as big of a deal, and they're very, at least to me, they're very obvious to tell. They are getting better, and it is getting a bit scary because they can be getting better. But that's why it's important, again, who you buy from. But as you kind of get more used to collecting, you'll be able to tell and see. And obviously, again, screen matching is a big deal. But for instance, like here is a non-authentic fan, fake, whatever you want to call it, Dragon Ball cell. One of the first big key things to point out is it's got 3 binder holes, right? This is not even correct, right? So most cells, authentic cells, are going to have the 1 binder hole in the middle, and then they're going to have those 2 kind of rectangular longer holes on the sides, right? So that's already a dead giveaway. So and there's a lot of cells that are trimmed, right?
We're good.
Yeah, you can
We're
see
good.
right there. You're good. You're good. No, your cells are good, man. Trust me. I would have given you shit. No, I would have pointed it out. So that's one thing to figure out. Now, second, you want to look at the art, because these are animators that do the original ones, and if you look at it compared to like something like this, like it's very poor. Like the line work is very shoddy. It's very shaky. It even you can kind of see the colors. It's kind of getting smudged,
Okay.
which doesn't happen with these because these are Xerox lines usually, right? So they're actually copied over from the drawing, so that they don't get smudged. The other thing, so you see how black these lines are?
Yeah.
They're very, very dark. Most authentic cells are going to have some level of fading and of age showing. So you could see the lines are becoming a little bit orange. And some places it's more obvious than others just because, depending on what paint's underneath, what color's underneath, you can kind of see. But that is a very normal sign of it being an original cell too, is having that. I'm not saying that's for sure a foolproof method of seeing it, but most of the fakes are going to have these very, very obvious, terrible lines. Line work is very shoddy. You can see it's drawn by pen. And then on the back, it's just kind of showing you a little bit more detail. On the back, there's some other differences too. So when the cells are done, and this will just be like just a quick little explanation of cells, but one second. So the cells are first done, like we talked about. There's the Genga and then the Douga. Let me find
Yeah, because not every cell is like super high quality. Like even that Goku I bought from you, like it's a derpy looking Goku. Like,
right.
Whoever was the animator on that, the best one took the day off or something. I don't know. But
it happens, and also like every animator has their own style, right? So like there's Yamamuro, Shida. There's a bunch of different animators, and you might be used to seeing one style of Goku, whereas like the jaw is really sharp and like it's very muscular and big. And then there's another style of Goku where he looks a little bit more derpy, and that kind of depends on the animator a lot too. But the in between shots are definitely ones you notice it more. But so like here's the Douga, right? So they would first, after they do the Genga, they do the finished drawing. So this is finished right here. And then they would take the drawing, they put it on, they just kind of put it on the table. They would take the cell, which is this right here. You can see the cell.
Yeah.
And they'd put it, it's just like a clear celluloid piece of plastic. They'd put it on top of the drawing there. And so you can see it goes on top of the drawing. I'm probably going to get shit for handling with my hands. I washed my hands before. I already know I'm going to get comments. So I washed my hands before.
Look at all my frames. Like,
I already know I'm going to get a bunch of shit comments for it. But yes, it's better to handle it with gloves, of course. It's better to have them in bags. Usually I do keep them in bags, especially when you're handling them a lot, but I just wanted to take it out so I could show you guys. But they put it on top. Those lines would be copied over. And then they flip it over to the back, and then they paint it on the back. This right here is rice paper. It's very common for them to put the rice paper behind it.
Okay.
They would use that to preserve it, but obviously it didn't always work. But you could see here, it's like they would kind of smudge. The fact that you don't see the brush strokes on the front is because they actually they paint it through the back. So it's kind of like they put it through the back, so they just fill the clear plastic so that it kind of fills up those spots, and you don't see any brush strokes.
It looks
which is cool.
So
That's why
good.
It looks clean.
There was a video. There was a video posted the other day of like someone doing the painting, and they do it so fast, but it looks so good.
Dude, they're so professional. So, and then this is the back of like the fake, dude.
Okay, that I've noticed on a lot of the, I guess, fakes that I see on.
Yeah, they're really bad. I mean, they don't have the same technique and the same skill that they're using for those. So That's obviously another way to tell. But again, the biggest thing is you got to know who you're buying it from.
Yeah.
If you're buying it from a reputable source, you're fine. I mean, most people, if you're buying from like Heritage or Mandarake, it's always good to check everything, obviously, but you just want to make sure you're buying from trusted sources.
Yeah.
And if you ever are like super unsure, you could always also check the screen, try to screen match it, try to see if you could find that. And then as you collect more and more, you'll be able to kind of to pay attention to certain things. They're like, oh, like this is obviously this line doesn't look right here, or the paint doesn't look right here, or the color is off. It takes a little bit of time, obviously, but it's kind of like fake Pokemon cards.
Right.
Pokemon experts, collector, they can look at it right away and they can be like, yeah,
Yeah. So
it was blurry or this isn't right.
that's the thing I skipped with this, because when I was doing Pokemon, I did everything, right? I
Right.
bought everything. I did so much with it. I can tell packs, I can tell boxes, I can tell everything, because I've handled so much of it, and I bought everything that you can think of. And then I came to the animation cells, and I'm like, I'm just buying the best. And so
You're just buying,
I
yeah.
skipped the whole typical learning phase and handling fakes and handling other things from
Right.
just blindly buying. Instead, I just went hard on grails, and I mean that's the right thing to do, I think, financially, like you said. And I
Yeah.
tell, whenever people ask me about Pokemon, I tell them that same thing too. Is like, all right, you want the base set? Okay, buy the Charizard first, and then worry about the rest. So, yeah, I took that learning and applied it to this,
Yeah.
but it's scary because
It's a double-edged sword.
yeah,
Yeah, because I mean, at one point you're doing, I think the right thing is because usually the grails of the hobby are the ones that go up quicker, the ones that are getting harder to get, they're getting more expensive. So you want to buy that and get it out the way first, especially when you jump in. You don't want to jump in and then 3 years later be like, I really want a grail, and now regret it that you didn't purchase it earlier.
yeah,
But at the same time, you don't get to handle all that volume of like, okay, I've seen this sell, I've seen that sell. Like once you see enough of these in person, you know what they feel like, you know what they look like, you know what the paper looks like. You could tell, so when you have fakes, they're done on bright white paper, new paper, not aged paper, not contingent to what it was originally done. It's you can kind of tell over time. So
yeah. I don't recommend doing what I did at all. So I'm very transparent. I've spent just about 90,000 in the last 3 months on animation cells, and the majority of that was from collectors in France, Spain, just Europe. And I mean, I could, I just had the sense they were high end collectors, good people.
right.
Not knowing them at all, not talking to them very much, but just seeing their Instagram and understanding, like, it's very. I've you don't know me that well. We've known each other for like 3 months. Um,
Yeah.
I am notoriously known for just like in the Pokemon hobby, just going completely with my gut, and things just work out for me. So people hate me for it, but it's just fun. So yeah, I'm a gambler, and I just went for it, and it's all worked out. I haven't had any
Mhm.
issues at all. DHL is the best.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't recommend being as I guess reckless as I have been, but yeah, that's the approach. I've bought some grails, got a lot of them. I'm missing a ton of characters, I guess, in the sense, but I could always go and buy a
Yeah.
$500,000 piece for whatever character I'd want. But so yeah, that's the approach I took with this, and I'm very happy with it. The pieces I have are insane. I
Yeah.
stare at I look at them every day. I just
Yeah, you got some of the best pans out there right now,
yeah,
really. And the other thing is availability is tough too. Just because a pan was on the show doesn't mean that it's still available, still exists. I mean, not everything was saved. Some of this stuff was destroyed, unfortunately. Some of this stuff's in the toy archive, which is never coming out, and then other pieces are just locked away in collections or just lost to time, right? So the fact that you're able to get the quality of stuff in today's market, it's not easy. It really isn't, because there's been a lot of collectors for the last 5 or 20 years, 5 to 10 years, that have been really kind of hoarding and buying stuff. So it does get tough. But I think, like you said, you trusted your gut. You have a pretty good understanding of people, I guess, and you could see, right, when you go on someone's page, and you could ask around too. I mean, a lot of us in the community are pretty helpful. So if anyone ever asks me, hey, have you dealt with this guy, or is he legit? Is he safe to buy from? People could always message me or message you if you've dealt with him now at this point. But you kind of have a feeling of like, who's good and who's not. So I think as you kind of progress through your collecting career and you see who's really like some of the bigger players on Instagram and who's more known in the community, you know, you can kind of feel comfortable dealing with some of them.
Yeah.
For cards, it was interesting for me because I jumped in a little bit a few years ago, and I jumped into Yu-Gi-Oh cards, which I regret because I liked Yu-Gi-Oh as a kid. I don't know, I played more Yu-Gi-Oh than I did Pokemon. I mean, I've
Okay.
always liked Yu-Gi-Oh, and I just like the artwork, and I just remember trading Yu-Gi-Oh cards as a kid. And then when I jumped in, I was like, hey, like, you know, like who should I like avoid, or who are the people like, you know, like, oh, like I can't give you a list of people to avoid. Like they're telling me I'll give you a list of people to deal with, and that's it. Everyone
Yeah.
else avoid. I was like, oh shit. And it really, unfortunately, really is like a pretty like scary community because there's a lot of younger kids in that
Hmm.
community, and it's kind of like unchecked. So you know, so it's
Yeah.
a little bit intense.
I'm thankful for my brothers. We all skipped Yu-Gi-Oh as kids. We did
It's good.
Pokemon, and then we did I don't know and then we did Magic, so we skipped Yu-Gi-Oh. But in between, there was Harry Potter, there was Dragon Ball, there was MLB Showdown, but we completely skipped Yu-Gi-Oh. I was like I remember being one of like two kids in my class not playing Yu-Gi-Oh because I thought it was stupid. Um, so I'm thankful that I skipped that
There
and
you go.
have no
You don't
interest.
have to you don't have to deal with it. That's fair. I still like the hobby, and there's still
Yeah,
obviously great people in it. It's just it was like it just was a little bit too cutthroat for me when I got it, and I was like, you know, I don't want to deal with this. And the
yeah,
cells generally, the people that collect them are a lot of them are actually older. A lot of them are more experienced too. So I don't find too many childish shenanigans. You know, people when it comes to one-on-one pieces, you do get some people, you know, heated and emotional. I mean, at the end of the day, these are pieces of art,
yeah,
and you know, people do get emotional. They do want things, or they'll make crazy offers. That's kind of part of this hobby that's different than others. Whereas like, you know, cards have values that you could easily readily find out, right? Same thing with comics. They sell all the time.
yeah.
So this is $5,000 comic, this is $20,000 comic, but sells, it's like someone might value it at 5, someone might offer 10 or 12, and you know, and some might offer, oh, I only want to pay 4 for it, right?
Right.
So it's just it's a little bit different where there is a little bit more subjectivity. So that's another thing I get asked about the pricing. It's like, why is this 2,000 and this 10 and this 500? And over time, you start to see patterns like, okay, like a really good Super Saiyan 2 Gohan is going to sell for a lot of money because that's a key character. You know, Broly's always sell for a lot, Majin Vegeta's always sell for a lot. You know, a backside shot of Goku that's not a key shot, that's not recognizable. It's kind of like half of his face is showing, is obviously not going to sell for a lot. It's just if somebody wants to own a piece, there you go, you can own it for cheap. And you see these patterns over time of like kind of what goes for a lot. But every now and then I get shocked. I'm like, huh, like, you know, it is a little bit, you know, subjective too. So there's some people that are gonna like stuff more than others. Like I paid probably a stupid price for that Hitler drawing that like nobody else would pay for this correction one sheet drawing
Yeah.
of Hitler that I spent like $2,300, like 300k yen on, which is stupid. But I really wanted it, and I couldn't find it for years, and I have to have it. And I collect World War II comics and art, and it kind of fits my collection. And I was like, I need that piece, so I bought it. But
Yeah, I
so
think
you'll
that's
see a lot of that too.
kind of how I mean, yeah, thankfully, you and Josh and others, have been very helpful with all this and also transparent with like what you paid for certain stuff. So I was just kind of gauging off of that. And then when I bought the King Cold, or when I bought the trunks, I was like, okay, that was an auction, right? And that kind of gives you a
Right.
better sense of what true value might be because of the interest out there. So that's how I started gauging pricing myself on what I would offer on some of these pieces.
Hmm.
Because yeah, like I found these pans. I've just doing all the research. I'm like, these are the only ones I really care about getting. They seem like the most epic pieces to me that are out there. So I'm just going to offer on them. And I just offered based on what I felt was
Yeah.
right. And I pay for them. And who knows if I overpaid or what? I don't care. It's they're awesome pieces. So you
Mhm.
just kind of gotta. It's in that. It's still the adolescence of I feel like, of the hobby.
It is, but now like for someone like you getting in and being able to extrapolate data from sales is great, and you were able to make, I think, very fair offers and very reasonable offers to get those pieces. And I think like you even showed me a piece and I'm like, okay, that's this much, and you're like, yeah, I paid that, or that's like
Yeah,
kind of what I
yeah,
offered.
yeah, yeah,
And like you could, even without you telling me, I was like, okay, that's going to be this much, and you already knew, we already agreed on the value. But back in the day when I started 5 or 6 years ago, there wasn't Heritage selling these pieces.
mm,
Mandarake auctions would have them so often. Like there wasn't that much data and sales out there. So it was harder, and people were doing a lot more deals privately back then.
Right.
Now a lot of the stuff is going public, and you can actually find a lot of data, and it helps, right? Like you can go through Heritage has a wonderful archive of all of their sales. Mandarake, the same thing. You could see what the items have sold for. Obviously, keep in mind when you're looking at artwork, especially the artwork that's gotten really popular as of lately and kind of blown up. Prices from like 2016, 2018, 2020, they're kind of outdated. So you got to take that with a grain of salt when you see some of those. But there's been a lot of sales in the last like 2 3 years that have more accurate, more kind of relevant data to today.
Hmm.
And you can extrapolate a lot of different, values from that. If this pan of Nappa went for this much, well, Goku's a more popular character. This one had the background, this one doesn't. And you can try to kind of play with it a bit. There's a lot of things that go into it, but definitely looking at sold archived items, like actual prices people paid for stuff, is like kind of what you did is a great way to find out what something could roughly be worth.
Yeah, because there was that Gohan pan that sold on Heritage, with like
Yeah.
the rubble and everything, and so that also gave me a good sense, I guess, of what pans cost. But
Yeah, at the end of the day, the auctions, like even if you're bidding on an auction, at the end of the day, you're bidding with somebody else. So like, someone else is willing to pay you that price, right? So, it's a good way to auction's a good kind of like real way to see the value. It's not perfect. Obviously, people do get passionate and they can go crazy high on bidding. It's happened,
yeah,
but it's just a good way to get a good idea, for sure. And you can also see online what people are asking for items, right? You can see what people are asking for sales, and that can also give you an idea. Okay,
and
these
those
people
tend to
want.
be more realistic because the people
Yeah.
collecting cells right now, and buying and selling them, like they're like you said, it's not a very like liquid market, so
Hmm.
they people tend to offer reasonable or fair prices that just kind of make sense. So it's yeah, it seems like it's in a really good place. Like I'm enjoying it a lot. Like everybody seems excited about it. Everyone's kind of in the same boat, speculating on it. Like it's just exciting, right? Everybody's very optimistic about it. Everyone in Pokemon right now is like, everything's gonna crash and burn tomorrow, and the prices are too high, and blah blah blah. So there's like no negativity around cells right now. It's just all
Yeah,
positive. Everyone's happy. It's great.
it's good. It's good vibes. It's fun, and it's different. A lot of these people have collected Pokemon cards or comic books or whatever for so many years, and there's nothing wrong with it. I still love my comics. You still love your cards, but it's just fun and fresh to have something new and exciting,
Yeah.
especially when these pieces come out, because it's like, dude, you're the only one who has a Trunks pan. You're the only one who has a Cell pan. Like what's Pokemon like? Okay, he could have a Charizard first edition, and I could have, I could have the Ninja Turtles. He could also have one. It's like, okay, it's cool. We all have one, but with
Hmm.
this hobby, it's really more fun, and then that's where it gets interesting with the trading. Because there's gonna be a lot of cool trades that happen. Because it's like I don't. A lot of these people don't care about money. Not
Right.
everyone, obviously, but a lot of these people don't, and they're like, I don't want to sell this. You could offer me X amount. I don't care. But if you give me your piece, because I've been looking for one of those, and I
Yeah.
don't have that, then they'll do more trading. So it gets a little bit more interesting. And there's a lot of like 3 or 4 way trades where it's like, okay, Josh will trade to this guy, and that guy's going to trade to me. So then I can trade Josh my piece. It's like there's a lot of like 4 or 5 way trades that go on, which is kind of funny. But
That's fun.
yeah, it's more passionate about the collection, the collectible itself, like the artwork itself, rather than about like the money. I feel like with a lot of the cells, a lot of people just care more about the items than the money. It's not about the money. A lot of times people got offered crazy offers. I'm like, dude, you should take that. But they're like, yeah, I don't
Yeah.
care. It's just like I like my piece more. Like I can't replace it. So that's something different. Whereas like if you have a card and it's worth 5 grand and someone offers you 10, okay, you're taking it.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
you're just gonna buy another one. You're
Well,
taking it. Whatever.
that's the thing I'm excited about. Like I have, I think it's more so just the laziness, but I have no interest in selling any of these because it's just too much to package them
Yeah.
up and sell them. So that's a really good thing. Like it's going to force me to hold.
It forces
Which
you to keep
right.
them.
I mean, that's how I did so well in Pokemon is I moved around so much and forgot about stuff or left it in storage and it was in a different state and I had no access to it. So by the time I got to it, it was worth 20x. So
Yeah.
that's that's how I feel about these. It's just like I don't want to deal with selling these, so they're not going to be sold, and I'll just wait until there's a crazy offer.
Yeah, and
And
that's
yeah,
that's the best position to be in with these cells, honestly, is that you're just keeping them, and if somebody really wants it, they'll find you, they'll come
yeah,
to you, they'll message you, and they'll make offers. It's not something that you just kind of like go out and sell too much. You can make posts, and people do sell.
yeah,
Josh, Bro Namath, all they'll post, on their stories and stuff. But it's really fun when you get to showcase it as a gallery, and if anyone's ever interested, they could reach out,
I
and
mean,
then you
that's
never
what I
know,
that's
right?
what I
Like,
did. I mean, I just found guys with
yeah,
cool pieces I liked, and I said, "Hey, will you sell this?" And it worked out.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah. But I mean, where are you? Like, like, where are you at with collecting? Are you, because you got comics, you've got the art, you've got anime, you've got American. Like, what are you collecting now? Like, are you kind of is I guess the first question is, this a full-time thing for you?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
So I'm a collectibles dealer now for about 10 years. I had previous employment. I worked as an X-ray and CT technologist at a hospital before,
Oh,
and then but I left that to do comics basically full time, comics and collectibles, just because it's my passion, man. Like, I just
gotcha.
find myself kind of being more geared towards it, and I loved it more. So I was like, you know what? Even if I don't make the same, or even if I make the same amount or whatever, I don't care as long as I'm doing what I love and my
Yeah.
passion. But for me, it's really just kind of I've bought so many cells, so I'm really like excited to get other people into it. So I've sold a lot of people their first cells, so I've got a lot of people into it, and I'm just trying to downsize to get like just the grails. And then
Yeah.
if like a big one comes up, it's like, oh, then I'll be able to pounce on it,
Yeah.
like a harmony cell or something. Because I've never owned a harmony yet, which is
Okay.
crazy. Because I've owned a lot of cells, I've owned a lot of great cells over the years, but I've never owned a harmony cell. They're just so tough. And
Interesting.
then when they came up, it was like a harmony sale of Gildo, whatever, from the Ginyu Force. Like, I'm good. You know, I don't want to pay 8 grand for Gildo. I'm good. Like, I'll
That's a good
pass on
one,
that.
though. That's a good one. I
It
like that one.
is.
I like that one.
You saw it? It's kind of cool.
I was watching.
With the head cut off. It's
Yeah,
that one, right?
yeah. It's
It's
unique.
cool, but I was like,
Well, there's a whole like sub collection there. You could buy the Android 20, Dr. Giro head cut off. You
you
can do
can,
Android
yeah.
19. You can do
You
Goldo. You can do.
can, yeah, I know.
So there's a whole like sub collection there of just severed heads.
You could just collect severed heads, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Android 8 too, I think. First one,
Yeah.
Frankenstein one. Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, it's kind of funny, but I'm waiting for like a really nice harmony to come up, but
Okay.
we'll see.
So
That's like my end goal.
that's where you're at right now.
Yeah,
So
I just want to get one nice harmony because I want to be able to show people a harmony. A lot of people
yeah.
haven't seen it either. So like when people ask me, it's like, oh, here's a harmony. So like it's cool to have. I don't know. It's like a
So
trophy
what's
card.
the main part of the business then? Is it comics, or is it a little bit of everything?
Definitely comics for sure.
Okay.
Comics and artwork. So mostly I sell a lot of golden age comics. So those are going to be the ones from like 30s to 50s. So World War II comics.
Yeah.
As you can see, I have a lot of artwork up as well. But comics and art are my main thing. I do posters and other things, but cells and posters and a lot of artwork actually is more like PC stuff I like to keep. And then
Yeah.
again, similar to the cells, it's like I'll sell it if I get a big offer. Like, there
Yeah.
are some pieces I'm actively selling. It's just mostly cheap stuff for people to get in if they just want to join and get a piece. But my grails and my keepers I'm keeping, and it's like when somebody comes and makes an offer, it's like, okay, I could let that go, or we can discuss. But comics is definitely my full time thing. I do live sales on Instagram through comics.
Okay.
I'm actually working on revamping my websites. I haven't been using it. I've mostly been using IG to post stuff. So
Yeah.
I got my eBay running. So I've just been mostly just shopping comics and other collectibles.
That's cool. That's awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
I did the full time thing and then converted to doing corporate collectibles. So I'm still doing it. My full time job is
From another
collectibles,
side, yeah.
which is great. But
That's
yeah,
cool.
so it's been pretty awesome.
Yeah, let it get more stability that way, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's easier to get a house loan too when you have a job. That whole part of the world is still barbaric.
Yeah. Self employment and all that, it does get tricky.
Yeah.
I have to go through it, but
I remember like when I was full time Pokemon trying to get a new apartment, and I'm like, I can just like, here's my bank account, and
like here, like,
and they're
is
just
this
like,
not enough? Like, oh well, we want your returns and we want this and we want that.
yeah,
Or
not
like,
to
show us
sound
your
like
pay stub.
not to sound like a dick, but yeah, that's
Yeah.
just like,
No,
it's such a cash heavy industry. Everybody watching, if you are watching this, they know it's a cash heavy industry, so you typically have a decent bank account.
Yeah, and it's just it's more of a process going through like all of the whole like pain in the ass of getting all these things signed. Even to rent an apartment, like I remember I was trying to rent in the beginning, and I was like, look, I could pay for the whole year up front. Like, I'll pay you for the full year. Like, oh no, we have to see like your full pay stubs of this. I'm like, dude, I work for myself. Like, I don't have these pay stubs. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good to have a mix of both. I feel like if you could do both, then you're kind of already in the sphere. as your corporate job, which is awesome. So that's a pretty good position to be in. But
It's been nice.
yeah, I'm sure it's the same with Pokemon cards, but for comics, it's like 1 week you're rich, 1 week you're poor type of thing.
Yeah.
It's like
It's that
inventory in,
way
inventory out. It's
constantly,
just like
constantly.
yeah, it's
like,
like
I'm broke right now because I bought all these animation cells
because I spent all the money on this. Yeah, and then next week, like you sold some stuff, like I got money now, and then the next week it's gone. So I definitely get it. I want to show one little quick thing here.
Show me some stuff. Well, I want to see. Okay, awesome. Yeah. I was going to ask about that.
This is cool. Yeah. So this is official Becca graded, authenticated Shonen Jump 51 from 1984. It is the first printing and first actual appearance of Dragon Ball, first official appearance in Shonen magazine. Which they later brought Shonen over to the US, which is cool. I remember having those as a kid.
Yeah.
We talked about this already, but there's a lot of fakes of these out there. There are ways to tell, but you have to be very careful, even on eBay, even online. I heard even on the Japanese sites, people will show photos of a real one and then send fakes.
So
which is scary.
I bought 3, and one of them was the real one in pictures, and I got a fake one. But I never did anything about it until years later. I didn't realize. I didn't know. I just bought them and stored them away. Because I had maybe like 60, 70 different Shonen Jumps that I just was like, I'm going to buy a bunch right now and see what happens. And all 3 of the Dragon Balls were fake. So that's.
Can I ask you, were they cheaper, the ones that you bought? Like they seemed like good deals?
No. They were better condition. They obviously the fake ones look super clean.
Yeah, they look pretty mint.
Yeah.
And
I mean, that's a great grade, a 6, right?
Yes, that's 6. So it's the nicest copy that I have graded right now. It's hard to get this book in a good grade. I mean, a lot of times, like you're gonna have creases here, there. These weren't stored and kept safe like comic books. Comic books have been collected since the 70s. Like there's been San Diego Comic-Con and people spending real money on them since the 70s and 80s. So people have been caring for them over the years. But these are just big books that they just read, and they put these on the shelf. So they just sit on the shelf. These would all fade a lot. So the spine would fade. There's a lot of creases. They'd read them. They'd open them. I mean, this wasn't like it's just a regular book.
What I've heard, they weren't made like with the highest quality either. That's why
they're like cheap pulp paper. The glue would, they would glue, and then they would have 2 staples. Like the glue would come off in a lot of them. They just weren't cared for. A lot of foxing. They just weren't really preserved. So it's hard to find anything in good shape. Like anything above a 5, 6 is really good for a lot of these books. They're so thick. So like they take up so much space. It's just easy to ding a corner. It's not. They're kind of a pain to save. But Beckett right now is grading them, so that's the good thing. Unfortunately, when you collected 3 years ago, there wasn't Beckett grading, so I feel bad. I'm sorry, but now it's out there, so you can get them authenticated by Beckett. You can buy them authenticated, already graded. CGC, which is definitely my favorite company, it's definitely the best company for books and comics for sure, hands down. And it's kind of like the PSA of cards. So CGC is getting into it real soon. Someone I know really well is actually heading that department over there. So that should be cool. I'm excited to see how that pans out.
I saw actually a couple years ago, I was there, and they had a bunch of manga, so they've been testing it for a while. It's been a long time, but
unfortunately, it takes time with these things.
Well, they got to make the molds, and they got to they got to educate and find people, and it's
1,000%, and that's the most important thing. And I think especially when coming with a new collectible, for them it's new, is that they need to know what's going on. They want, like, if they're getting submissions, like they need to know what this is, authenticate it. What is it supposed to contain? Because a lot of these contain little pamphlets and little inserts and things that could be missing. They need to know all of that. They need people that are experts, like authenticate them and make sure they're not fakes. Because the worst thing you want as a grading company is to release, and then all of a sudden,
I don't know if you know, but
scandal.
The huge blunder with Pokemon.
Yeah.
So I mean, CGC is like struggling on the card side.
So I know, and that's just it is what it is, and that's how it is, right? So like, CGC is great for comics. On the cards, it's different, right? That's they're newer to that, and I think they're
fine
really,
on cards. I think they're fine. It's just they made a stupid decision. Like it's that
it
simple.
happens. That's probably why they're taking a lot of time with this, making sure that they have everything in order. They have a CGC office in Tokyo now, so so they have that going for them. I think, or Heritage. Heritage has an office in Tokyo now too, so
PSA
they have a
does.
representative in Tokyo.
Yeah.
So it's growing for sure. And I think when they come out with their cases too, that'll really change the market.
Are
But
you worried about the like preservation of them inside those cases?
so they have to do it right. I'm looking at this one, and thankfully they put the inner. The problem with a lot of these bigger collectibles, like video games and things like that, VHS, is if they don't have a big enough inner well inside, and it squeezes and crushes the book on the inside, that's an
Yeah.
issue. Um, from what I could see, this is fine. These are books, so they're not like needing. It's not like cells where like they need to breathe or anything.
Okay.
It's not like they need to worry about that. They for comics, like a lot of people, they don't recase their stuff. Sometimes if they have an old case, they'll recase it because they put a microfiber chamber inside. It's like this really thin piece of paper it's supposed to absorb all the acid from the paper because there is
Okay.
acid to them.
Yeah.
So with comics, like they technically say I think every 5 or 10 years to like recase them, but I mean nobody really does.
Yeah.
It's just kind of what they say. But
Well, yeah, I'll probably get
yeah, I think
a bunch of shit for framing all my cells, but like I'll let them breathe every so often, and I'll make sure everything's fine. I'm like the good stuff I'm getting done professionally by like
yeah.
a museum framer, and like it's fine. They know what they're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, as long as it's archival, right? So a lot of people give people shit because it's easier to say don't frame, and you won't, that nothing will happen to them, than oh, frame, but do this and this archival, like make sure the back's open, make sure there's no sunlight. It's easier just to say don't frame. So that's why
Yeah.
it's always been like the thing that people were saying is don't frame him. But man, cells and artwork have been framed for years. You just have to know what you're doing,
Yeah.
right? So when it comes to framing cells, I mean, the biggest thing, the number one thing to avoid is UV sunlight. I mean, that will kill a cell for sure. It'll fade the lines. It'll kill a cell. You don't want to do that. So you want to make sure that wherever they are in, like this room right now, there's no windows. Everything's closed. Like there's literally no open sunlight that gets in. So anything, and that goes for not just cells, that goes for posters, that goes for comics, even cards. I mean,
Oh, everything.
stuff
Yeah.
will fade.
Everything.
If it's in front of the sun all day, it'll fade. And the other thing to be careful of, like let's talk about, let the cells breathe, because it's original paint that's on acetate, and they can develop issues over time. And it usually happens if there's many layers or if they're stuck for a while. You could see some rippling, and you want to avoid that. But if you have cells that are framed, I mean, a lot of times people, what they would do is they leave the backs kind of open, so there's a little bit of air that goes through.
Yeah.
You could pull them out every now and then. Anytime you frame a cell, I will say you want to add a mat, kind of like how you did.
Yeah.
You don't want the cell sticking to the glass. That's another thing. But that's why there's a lot of things to consider. So people just say don't frame them just because it's the safest and most. It's just the safest thing. It's in the portfolio. That's it. You don't have to worry about it. But if you put a mat, if you use 99% UV, I would use acrylic. So I would use plexiglass, not glass, because glass, number one, is heavier. It could shatter if someone threw a ball at it. If it fell from the wall, anything, it shatters. It could cut the cell. I've had somebody ship me a Disney cell. A lot of Disney stuff is framed, like a lot. Like
Yeah.
Dragon Ball animation is not anime is not that framed, but like Disney is like all framed.
Yeah.
So I had somebody ship a cell, obviously eBay. They shipped it in its frame with the glass. It came in shattered. I got the box. Like I was like, oh shit. I opened it. It's all cut. Like the paint was cut. Everything was cut. It was terrible. So you want to use plexiglass for sure. It's just safer. And you want to use a mat. Archival materials. A lot of times, what they do, I think I showed you the other day with the cells, is they won't actually use. You don't even have to use actual tape or anything adhesive on the artwork or the background. You could just use these mounting corners, so they just go inside the plastic. The plastic gets stuck to the mat, and that way, like nothing is touching the cell. So that's those are definitely general tips on how to frame it. People feel more comfortable framing Dougas and Gengas, so you'll see a lot of that more often too.
I mean, those will get destroyed by the sun too if you're not doing it right.
But yeah, of course, everything is susceptible to getting damaged by the elements. I mean, nothing is here forever. These are all man-made, and it's going to disappear eventually, right? So it's just a matter of preserving it to the best of your abilities. And unfortunately, people had such a bad experience with framing cells because they've seen cells fade over time in frames. And you could even see rubber slug. Like I've seen a guy that had this freeze a cell, and then you see a few years later it's posted by another guy, or even the same guy, and it's in the frame, and it's just terrible. But again, it's just because they didn't keep these things in mind. Obviously, do not take a thumbtack and tack it to the wall. You'll see that in old Rubber Slug
I
too,
saw that with a ton
right?
of Majin Vegetas.
And it good sells, like
Great
great
cells.
sells,
Like,
amazing
yeah,
sells,
yeah.
and that hurts,
Well,
But
I know a guy with a first edition base set uncut sheet Pokemon, and it's been hanging in his office forever, and it's unfaded, like pretty bad. So it's just so sad.
that's base set. That's cool. Like
It's
that's a grail.
$500,000, $1 million
Yeah, it's just
piece. It's just
amazing,
like, bro.
and it's unfair.
But he
That's
does,
the problem.
he doesn't need money, so it's fine.
He doesn't care. No, I mean I think there's a reasonable line of being able to enjoy your pieces, display them while still being safe. You know what I mean? I think there's a line
Yeah.
of of being careful enough to know what you're doing, but at the same time being able to enjoy them. And I think as people educate themselves more and learn about it, I think you'll be fine. There's some cells that people have shipped to me in a frame that I bought 5 years ago. I have photos of them 5 years ago. I have photos of them today. They look the exact same. It's
Yeah.
because the way they're stored, the way they're done, that all matters. So just keep that in mind. And then, but I will say this, just a good point for new collectors that are getting into it. These are going to be your best friends, especially in the beginning. These Atoya Art Portfolio.
Yes.
This is what everybody uses. I'm sure you got yours. There we go.
Thank you.
So this is going to be your best friend to preserve them, to keep them safe. You can bring them to shows, conventions, very easy. You can slide it in your bag. They have acid-free paper, so it doesn't ruin the cells. There you go.
There's me ripping the Vegeta.
There you go.
Off.
You ripped it off off the Douga. A lot of people do that, man. You want it like you can't really see the cell. It is what it is.
I had it was offset, so it looked kind of weird.
That's how it always is. If you notice, the reason why they're offset and they look weird is because they're different sizes. Check this out. So this is a cool piece. They got the Nappa.
Oh,
really great detail.
Yeah.
But you can see how the cell ends here and the drawing goes here. But at the bottom, they're matched up. So the drawings are always a bit bigger than the cells. The drawings also go out more than the cells.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they're placed on, because it's paint, and over time with the weather and the temperature and the heat, the paint starts to get adhered to the drawing. So you'll find a lot of cells like this where the paint is on the actual, on the drawing, and it sucks because it's stuck on it. Sometimes they put it the other way, so the drawing is on the back side, and you can see the drawing on the back and the cells on the front. So that's okay. When it's like this, there are ways to get it off, but it's tough, and it really depends on the color of paint. Actually, believe it or not, like white paint, for whatever reason, doesn't adhere as much. You could peel that off. Very light skin paint like that, but if you have a dark color, sometimes it gets stuck, and it's like you either ruin the cell or the drawing. And obviously, you don't want to ruin the cell. Like you don't want to peel it where like paint comes off the cell.
That happened to Vegeta. Like, I think I could actually take the paint off of the cell like cleanly, and just put it on something else. But I don't want to try, because when I was ripping it off, like a chunk of them came off, but like peeled off cleanly. Like it was
right.
So I don't know. I don't know if anyone's ever tried that. Take just like scrape off the entire cell,
scrape it off and put it on
a piece of paper,
just kind of stick it back on. You probably could do that. Obviously,
don't try that. Do not try that.
Don't try it at home, but I don't know. I mean, I've heard of people doing crazy things like putting them in freezers, and then if you put it in a freezer, then it's easier to peel it off. I don't know. I would say this: just if you're gonna be messing with it and you don't know what you're doing, or even if you know what you're doing, there's always a risk of it could damage. Just how it is, right? So you just have to know that before going in. But a lot of people hate the way they look with the drawings behind it, and they will take it off. It is what it is. You can't really salvage it. Drawing you can't see. There are some people that claim they could remove it cleanly, but you can never remove it perfectly clean, because I mean it is adhered to the paper, right? So there's going to be some parts where it comes out a little bit nicer, and there's going to be some parts where it doesn't. It's just how it is.
Yeah. So you're looking for a harmony cell. What is your current favorite piece that you have? It doesn't have to be Dragon Ball. It can be something else.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of favorite comic art and posters, but they're not all in this room. But I would say my favorite piece that I have is probably this one. Outside of that, Goku and Vegeta. This one's very, very cool. I love all the pieces with the backgrounds. So I'm a big fan of Keymaster backgrounds, which we could touch upon that a bit.
I am too now. Yeah.
Yeah, you got some great ones, dude. Dude, anything original background is like my favorite. I've always, when I first got into it, I was like like these are grails. Like these should be even more than than they already go for a premium. But I was like, these should be even more than that. They're awesome. Like it's the one of one background that's used. So when you think of Cels, they'll have the same background scene, and then the character will move, or Cels over there like moving his arm, doing whatever he's doing. They're fighting. Sometimes they'll cut back to the same frame, so they can have multiple Cels with only one background.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times the backgrounds are either lost or they're with one cell and you just can't get them. So when they come up, so some terminology. So in case you see on Heritage or Mundrock or Yahoo, there's production background, which is an original background used from the production of the show. Custom background, it's kind of a weird terminology, but custom just means somebody made it. It's
Mm-hmm.
not actually a real background from that show. Somebody painted it. So instead of printing a background, which a lot of people do for display, which is fine, someone actually made a painted background. So that's custom. Production's original. And then there is master background, which is like production background. It's usually used from like that same, usually episode or like that same show, but usually the same episode. And then key master or matching background. And that's going to be the ones that are literally the correct background for that cell. If you go on YouTube or whatever, however you find your videos of the show, or you just watch Dragon Ball, you'll see like that same frame and everything. So like something like this is a key master, so it's all original.
Mm.
And I like this because it's like a throwback to the first episode. And I mean, the background itself is a work of art.
Yeah.
And I think you share this even. There's a lot of the videos of Akira going on when they painted the backgrounds of Akira.
Yeah.
Crazy. The detail and in the buildings.
Yep.
It's insane. So like this is cool because this is an original background. A lot of these sometimes are damaged because the cells were on it and they were ripped off.
Mm-hmm.
This one's just got very minimal. It's really clean shape, but it just seeing these like kind of brings you into the show.
It's a landscape. Like that's a very Dragon Ball thing. Yeah,
it is. Yeah. It is. It's like a Dragon Ball iconic looking landscape. So I love those. And then when you put the cell on it, and then it just becomes, you could picture the scene. Here's another one, another iconic landscape of Dragon Ball. Awesome piece as well.
Right here. Yeah, like Planet Namek is so recognizable. Yeah,
you got the green sky and the blue, the blue grass with the mountains, like. So like that, when you see this, like it just screams Dragon Ball. Like it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
So those are fun. I really do like key masters, and I think those pans. I'll show you a crazy pan. You've seen this one, but like just to get an idea of the size of this, monstrous size.
I consider getting this all the time.
Oh, I'll pull that out. The next one.
This is a different one. This is different. Okay.
This is that other one. Unless you want this one, but I think the other one's cooler. But massive.
Yeah.
This is massive. Like, dude, look at the size of this thing. Look at it compared to me versus a regular cell.
Crazy. And to compare, insane. Like the Android 18 is probably similar height, but the width is not even close.
Yeah, and most of them, that's the normal size of the pens. They're usually kind of skinny, long pens, right? So it's kind of hard to find like the giant, oversized ones. But here, let me pull out that other one. Oh, there it is. It's over here. This is crazy. I've been teasing you about it for a while.
Yeah. Because there's another dragon one that there's just the dragon is just so.
Dude, they're so. Yeah.
It's like I can't really explain it. It's so cool, but just in my head personally, the value doesn't match up because it's the dragon. But it's still so cool. It's so. As an art piece, the dragon being a pan and like this
shot,
it just looks so good. And I hate that it's not like it's just a personal bias. I just hate it's not like because I want one, but I don't want one.
You want to spend the money, dude? I will say, I don't know. I will say, like dragon pieces are, dude. It's iconic. It's
Dragon Ball Z, man.
It is. It's in the name. It's there. There aren't that many good dragon cells. I mean, there's not many dragon cells in general. I mean, he didn't show up.
What they do they do a wish a season, whatever it is.
Like so there's not that much. And then when you get one with like the full range, like all like the whole, his whole tail swirling around, like that's epic. Like I have one right there from the same scene. But if you notice, it's just this is real. And then this part is a background that's printed.
Oh, really?
You can see the color difference. Yeah. So that's the only original part of the dragon. So that's why when I got this, I was like, shit, like this is a full shot. Like that's all painted. That's all original Shenron right there.
That's crazy.
And it's a E, so at the end it says E at the end, which is an end cell. It's like the last frame. So first frame and the last frame are always very key frames. They're always great frames. They're usually done by key animators, and they're a little bit more valuable to collect because the shots are better. So they're a little bit more key, you could say.
Yeah, I don't know if pans fall in that because there's always like the end frame or keyframe is a shot of their face from that scene. So a lot of the pans are
Usually not.
no.
Sometimes like you'll see it's pretty rare, but I've had a few of them. A1E, A1 end,
Okay.
A1E or A1 end, which is first frame and last frame, which
Uh,
is cool because it's like literally that means it's the only frame.
right.
Like that is as one of one as you can get. Like there isn't another frame. It's just a still shot. Usually it's like someone's expression, like like an anime shot, like
Yeah.
someone's like super expressive and they're just like frozen. So you'll see that a few times. Sometimes instead of the E, it'll be end, and then sometimes instead of the end, it'll be this tome, Japanese symbol for end. It's a just little symbol. So there's just a lot of little things to notice. A lot of times, funny enough, a lot of the writing sometimes is in English. Not always. Like sometimes they'll
Yeah,
say like the character in English.
I've noticed that.
Yeah, this one has the Japanese color codes and all that. These are all color codes, by the way, like how to color it and like, keep this area blank because that's like not to confuse it with the hair. That's not hair. That's
I wonder
outside.
because my trunks is like he's got there's a lot of blue in it. Um, I don't want to pull it off the wall, but
Do it.
okay, yeah, it's easy. I for these cheap cheap frames. It is super easy. I just use the Velcro guys, so you can just like take it on and off the
Oh,
wall. But,
oh, that's not bad.
yeah.
Hey, that looks good, man. The frame looks pretty good.
Yeah,
So badass, bro. Like the colors, so cool.
yeah. My goal is to get Goku and Vegeta, like all the super Vegeta, super Goku, super Trunks.
Yeah, yeah,
And
that'd be cool. Put all three next to each
I
other.
found the Vegeta. I mean, it's not a similar pose, but they're asking a lot. And then I had never seen the Goku. The Goku pan in the hyperbolic time chamber is so epic. I don't know if it exists, but I want it so bad.
Dude, it's the
I
fact that you were able to see stuff that you want to get is pretty rare. I don't want you to get spoiled because it's not
yeah,
easy to find those.
dude, it
It
is
really
like
isn't. Like if you see one frame or like one shot, you're like, I need to have it.
that's the problem.
It's hard.
I'm watching Dragon Ball Z right now just to see like, okay, what do I want? And it's a problem.
Yeah. Do you notice that you're watching in a different lens now? Like, oh, that's a painting. Like, oh,
Yep.
that's a cell. Like, I want this cell. That's a cool cell. Like,
Yeah.
when you rewatch it after I started collecting cells, it was like you start to catch different things, and then I'm like, holy shit, these are all paintings. What the hell?
Dude,
Like,
I was sitting on the couch with my trunks watching the episode like
waiting for it to
this
come
is
up.
awesome. Yeah, I feel it's yeah, I'm so excited about this. It's so cool.
Dude, these were literally in toy archives in the studios. They made them.
Yeah.
They photographed them. Everybody has seen it. Millions and millions of people have watched Dragon Ball Z, and you own a piece of the show. Like it's
Crazy.
when you think about it, like this isn't a card that they mass produced or a comic that they mass produced in an assembly line. Like these are original artworks from the show, and there's Pokemon cells too. We both
Yeah.
know about that. There's a lot of cool Pokemon cells
Yeah.
out there.
I bought a Pikachu from you.
You got a cool
That
Pikachu.
was pretty cool. And then I've got
Those are tough to get, like big frame Pikachu's because he's usually small. He's like on Ash or something. So when you
Yeah.
get like a nice big shot of him, it's always cool.
Yeah. I've got some epic ones. I haven't shared them and probably won't for a long time, but I've got some pretty epic Pokemon ones. And from what I know is that a decent amount of Pokemon was destroyed and a lot of it is locked up with Pokemon in their archive. So, yeah, I mean that's like a lot of this was trash too. Like back then, it was worthless. So,
Dude, yeah. I mean, a lot of this was trashed. Sometimes animators would take them home or take them. A lot of the stuff was discarded. So the fact that we could even just collect some of this is pretty amazing. And some shows or some series, like there's like nothing from it. Whether it's just because there's no artwork that was done, or a lot of studios kept it all, or just hard to find. So the fact that like Dragon Ball and Pokemon, like you could actually still buy some of this, and a lot of this stuff got out, and even Japan too. Like all respects to Japan, they're very loyal people. They're a very loyal nation, and they don't like a lot of their stuff leaving the country, which I understand. It's their artwork. It's kind of their thing. They invented anime, and so a lot of these sites that you buy from, if they know that you're an American buyer, like you can't buy from them, or they'll cancel the bid. I've even had it where like me and my friends, like we would win an item. We'd win an item, right? We'd pay whatever it costs to win. So it's $4,000, let's say, and we'd win. And then okay, we go to pay, we get a refund, cancels, sells it to the next higher bidder, which could have been 48, 40, whatever it is, or 38 or 35, whatever the next bidding was. So they'd rather lose money and keep it in Japan
Yeah.
if it's an outside of
Well,
Japan buyer.
I've heard, like, I heard of rumors like years ago of them like claiming or making animation cells like a historical thing, and them like,
Yeah, I've seen articles about that.
yeah. So I don't know if
I haven't
that's
seen that like really implemented yet, and it's kind of hard for them to implement that. But I have seen an article about that. It's becoming like a historical artifact of Japan,
yeah,
and it just in general, it just with there's no hate, but it's just how it is. The Japanese people are very loyal, and that's just they're
yeah.
very proud of their craft, and a lot of them don't want to see it leave, but people have been getting them out, and you
It's
need a little bit of tweaking to get some of these pieces out. You need to know somebody in Japan usually to like
yeah. Maybe I
to
shouldn't. I
to
shouldn't
bid.
be showing off the trunks that my middleman's going to get caught, and I won't be able to get it
No,
anymore.
you'll be fine. But
Yeah,
no, I mean, I think it's just, dude, these you can't blame people for wanting this stuff, man. It's great, and it is what it is. People really have a huge passion for it, right? So like, I think a lot of people really are excited about getting it, and so for them, they'll do whatever it takes to get these pieces. Obviously, not everything is going to leave, but Dragon Ball and anime is just a huge international phenomenon, and I've always known that, but I didn't really realize it until I got into collecting cells. Like I never like how often do you deal with like Spain and Portugal and France and all before with cards? Maybe a bit.
well, with cards, yeah, I've been pretty much
Yeah,
everywhere.
I guess that's pretty like for me because I dealt with comics. Like comics is
Although,
mostly US.
I mean, Spain was new. And also like Europe for cards. For whatever reason, Italy was like known to have a ton of scammers. So anything from Italy, I never touched. Um, and
That's
it's
fair.
it's funny, like, yeah, a lot of these like bigger collectors are in France or whatever, and you're like, oh, that kind of makes sense. There's a lot of artwork, like, obviously all the famous
Yes.
artwork in Europe. So it's like that's kind of an interesting correlation to
It's
see that.
a very artistic city or country rather. Like there's a lot of art and history in it, and so people really like that. Yeah, there's a lot of collectors there, and I didn't really realize how big globally this thing is until I started getting into the cells, and I was like, damn, like
Well,
I'm dealing with
Dragon,
more people outside of the US and outside of Japan than
yeah,
people in the US.
yeah, and I mean when Akira Toriyama died, like the amount of videos I saw from football games in Mexico, and I mean
Dude,
it really
Mexico's
is, Mexico
huge fans.
loves Dragon Ball Z.
I was
So
about to say, but I haven't done too many deals with people in Mexico. Like there aren't too many collectors, I feel like.
no,
Probably just because it is what it is. I mean, they're
yeah,
they're expensive commodities, but Mexico's
yeah,
huge fans of Dragon Ball, like insane. Like, and I heard because I was speaking to some of my friends who grew up there, and like they told me that it's because that's literally all they had. They had like 3 channels. It was like you could either watch Dragon Ball, like, and then it's 2 other shows. So like everyone just watched Dragon Ball.
yeah.
So it's literally like I don't know who planned that, but like
That's
they
awesome.
perfectly planned it so that like all of them grew up with Dragon Ball, and all of them just go crazy for Dragon Ball.
That's awesome.
Like he was this one guy was like keeping up with all the different like Dragon Ball heroes and this and that. I'm like, dude, I can't even follow what you're saying. There's like they're real big fans, like real big fans. Like they'll watch like there's fan videos. There's like videos like, in Spanish, just tons of millions and millions of views, like more than the English ones too.
Really?
Um, yeah, there's a really famous Dragon Ball rap that I think it's a Portuguese rap. I think it's
Huh.
really cool. Like 80 million views. Dragon Ball Portuguese rap with like 80 million views. Like, dude, what? It's
It's
great.
it's so weird. Like Dragon Ball has always, like, people don't consider it an anime because it's so popular. Like it's
And
literally the birth
people
of
don't even.
all of it, and
It is.
because it like it just has never gotten the love I feel like it deserves. Even though I mean, it's widely known more than almost everything, but like the deep love that One Piece gets, and like Pokemon
I
and all the Dragon Ball Z just has this like weird place, and I'm hoping it changes. I'm bullish on. We were talking about this yesterday. I'm bullish on AI like being a very supportive, positive tool for animation. I know a lot of people hate it. It's a bad thing, but I think that it's going to help
dude,
out old IPs like Yu-Gi-Oh, like Dragon Ball, like others.
1000%. If you utilizing it right, I mean, it's a tool, right? So as with any tool, a gun could be a good thing or a really bad thing, right? So as with any tool, it's if it's utilized correctly, I think it's a wonderful thing. You just have to utilize it correctly, and hopefully we don't get taken over. But no, I kind of agree with you. Dragon Ball and Pokemon. If you ask most Americans or Canadians or whatever people from here, and you ask them like, you watch anime, and like now everybody does, right? But like years ago, not a lot of people cared for anime. But like if you just ask like, oh no, or I don't know, they wouldn't consider Pokemon or Dragon Ball anime. They're just like American. They would think it's American cartoons. They just seems like they're just more. It's so associated, and like it's kind of, I don't know. They just feel like it's more like more natural to them as American cartoons rather than anime. And I think Dragon Ball, in terms of like not getting the love, obviously it's one of the biggest franchises in the world. But I do, there is a lot of like, oh, like, it's just people yelling, and like it's just, there's a lot of like dumbing down to Dragon Ball that happens. I feel like just because it's like, oh, that's the first thing, but it's not that intellectually deep. So once you get past that level, then you got these enemies, blah 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 blah. But I
Right.
mean, at the end of the day, I mean, it's a wonderful story. It kept people engaged. It's still reused today all the time. Like every
Hmm.
video game of Dragon Ball is the same freaking story all the time. It's
Yeah.
the same thing over and over again, right? Like it's never going away. I think they'll keep making iterations. They'll keep adding, obviously, Super,
Yeah.
and the movies, but it's always going to be iconic. It's always going to be one of the biggest and most important animes in the history of time. I mean, the only other anime that I'd say is very important in terms of bringing it to the West is Akira, which was a
Mm.
big deal when it came out, and that came out a little bit before Dragon Ball, I think, or at least before Dragon Ball Z. It was also in the '80s, but that was like a big factor bringing it over here, and people were like, wow, like look at this art form, like the story, the art, it's incredible. So then Dragon Ball came over. I know, like back in the day, there's all those VHS. You got to like bootleg VHS
Hmm.
to watch Dragon Ball Z and all that.
Yeah.
It was a big deal. I mean, without Dragon Ball Z and Pokemon, without those two animes, like I mean, anime wouldn't be as known or loved over here as it is. So I think there's a lot that goes into that in terms of just being historically significant. I mean, it is one of the biggest franchises, and so people can dumb it down and be like, "Oh, there's way more smart, intellectual, deep animes these days," but it
It's
it
all
doesn't
just
have the
power
same.
creeps. It's all just
Yeah,
all the popular animes are power creeps. It's just Goku turning Super Saiyan in a different way.
yeah, kind of, pretty much. But I don't know. There's just so much that comes from it, and for me, what's cool about Dragon Ball 2, that's because I have the comic background and history, is that Goku is kind of like Superman, which is like the first superhero, because he comes in from this crater. He comes in this little
Yeah.
little space pod and crashes on Earth. He's got all these superhuman strength and powers. He's really kind of half alien, So it's and Toriyama actually used a lot of that, I think, when
Yeah.
creating the character. So it's cool because like Superman was considered like the first real superhero. It's kind of the birth of superheroes and comics. Really, the golden age of the comics started with Superman. So kind of like the golden age of anime is kind of starting with like Dragon Ball Z, which I think is pretty cool. But obviously there's Astro Boy and there's Tezuka and all those,
Yeah.
incredible history with anime, of course. But I think for like modern audiences, I mean,
What
everyone started with
popularized
Dragon
it?
Ball Z.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure, popularized it. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, the whole like Frieza fight. I mean, that was the biggest fight in all of like TV history. Like there's so many episodes. Planet's gonna explode in 5 minutes. Like, yeah, right. 30, 30 episodes later.
Yeah.
It's such a, and now I think there's another fight. Also, One Piece or Naruto, or Bleach. I think that takes over it now. There's like it's like
Yeah.
a 2 episodes longer or whatever. But like that started it all, man. It was a
Yeah.
big factor into all of this. So I mean, I think Dragon Ball is a huge part of history, and it sounds funny, but it's Japanese and it's Japanese history, but it's a little bit of pop culture Americana as well, because I mean it's really grew its legs here, and I feel like a lot of people got to get into anime because of it, right? So it's a big deal. I mean, it's huge. I think that and Pokemon, I can't understate its significance. I like collect Pokemon cells as well, just like you. I think they're both very important, and I think you can't go wrong, collecting either Dragon Ball, Pokemon. You can't go wrong collecting, anything you want. But
Yeah.
as it goes with everything, right? So like if you're going to be buying Dragon Ball, Pokemon, it's a little bit more sustained. A lot more collectors in it. So if you're kind of worried about investing money, you buy Dragon
No,
Ball, Pokemon cells, you're
it.
pretty much safe.
Yeah. I mean, for the longest time, everyone wanted and wants original artwork of the Pokemon cards, but they don't really exist. Like they're not out
No,
there, and it's come to the point, the last 5 years, signatures from artists and original artwork from artists has exploded in Pokemon, and this piece is selling for 6 figures and all this stuff, and it's just like random Shikishi artwork or a random prize that was given away at a tournament from when one of the artists was there, and then the artist did signings for the last few years, and it's incredibly gatekept, and they're not allowed to sign Pokemon stuff because Pokemon won't let them. And then there's the old people the older artists who aren't doing artwork anymore that will sign it sometimes, but want to be appreciated for the non-Pokemon stuff they do. And
Right.
so well, the fact that no one talks it's still today. No one talks about Pokemon animation cells. Like this is original artwork. This is what you saw on the show. Like
At the end of the day, you can make an argument that the show was more popular than the card game. If it blew it up. I mean, you
Yeah.
can make a huge argument that the show was why a lot of people got into it. I mean, it's a
you
factor
can't
of
do
both.
that. You can't do that with Yu-Gi-Oh, because Yu-Gi-Oh is literally about the card game. So
It is. But like the show and the games are like
yeah,
such big factors of Pokemon. And yeah, I mean, as as a full collector myself, like I love the fact, like I love owning original things, right? Like I don't
yeah,
like prints. I just want to own the original of whatever it is, right? So for cards, like if I got into cards, like yeah, I would love to own the original art for the card. Like these are like original covers for comics, right? Like
right.
which is crazy to get some of those. Even like the old ones in the 40s are hard to get. Um, but the fact that like Pokemon Cells is kind of like the closest you can kind of get to a lot of this stuff, and people pay so much for. Same thing with comics, same thing with cards. Like a lot, nothing wrong with it, but there's a lot of common cards, a lot of common comics that people are spending thousands, tens of thousands of dollars on, where you can actually own a one-of-one original piece of art from that series. It's like, to me, like like that would come first, Like I feel like that should come first before some of the cards. But there is a factor of, we talked about like quantity and the amount of people that just collect cards and comics. It's way higher. But I think as this shift is starting to transition now, and I'm seeing it now. Like it used to be like a smaller niche community on Instagram that have been collecting cells, that trade and buy and sell. Now there's so many new people. Like I'll go on and I'll find like 5 or 6 new people. Like I don't know who these people are. Like I used to know a lot of the people that are at least public, at least the public profiles that were on Instagram collecting and sharing cells. Now it's like every day there's new people that are joining in, and I'm sure it's the same thing with Pokemon cards back in the day too. It was like it was more kept knit, and now like everybody's doing cards,
Well,
breaks,
yeah, I
and
mean, it
whatever.
got to the point where Justin Bieber made a post, and then Logan Paul did his thing,
Yeah,
and all these celebrities are into it. I mean, not to like be egotistical here, but when I started posting anime cells, I got tons of messages, like tons, and it was like it felt weird. It felt like there's not a lot of prominent figures or big people doing animation cells, um, and like I'm a small. I've
right.
what 14, 16, what, I don't know, thousand
Oh, you got
on Instagram, and
you got a pretty big following.
it's
Pretty
like
good for
it's
the
like
hobby.
how it kind of opened my eyes to like how like how new this is to a lot of people. So it's really, there's so much room for growth, because if I'm
Yeah,
making an impact, that's a problem. Like that should not be happening.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. No, I mean, and you're right. There isn't like a big figurehead that has been discussing them or sharing them. It's kind of slowly growing through more collectors like you that are that kind of that they have presence, but also like more on the collector side rather than full influencers. So like there is that level of like what happens when the Logan Pauls and those people get into it and
mhm,
start sharing. I mean, that's why I really think there's like there are people that like the old school sell people who will complain, oh, the prices are crazy, blah blah blah. But they said
that's
that five
everywhere.
years ago. They'll say that 10 years ago. They'll say it in comics. They'll say it in cards.
Hmm.
But I'm thinking like, dude, honestly, for what these things are, like, and the amount of people that would want to have this, and like this once they find out, and you found out and you got it and you got hard, like there's always going to be the next big collector. There's always going to be someone. It's the same thing with cards, right? Like Logan, and then somebody else came, and then another private guy came in, and they like, I want to have the best shit. Okay, here's the best stuff. They go and they buy it, right? It's just there's always going to be another level of collector coming into this. I think that it's still so early, it's so
Yeah,
young, and the fact that like people are still finding out, you're still getting messages about it. It's becoming way more normal now, and I've seen a lot of people that have both cards and cells or comics and cells. Like it's becoming more popular and normal for people to kind of see these and collect them, but it's still super niche. And if
Yeah.
the prices are what they are now, being niche, like imagine what it will be once it really blows up
Yeah.
and
Well, I'll
most people
say
share
like,
it.
I mean, I've had awesome cards. Like, I mean, I've got a nice display of like my shadowless back here, but my office looks cooler than ever. Having this stuff on the wall, having artwork, like you can't do that with cards. It just doesn't do the same thing, you know.
No, it doesn't translate. Same thing with me. Like, I have some comics up. I
Yeah.
moved some down for the cells, but I it doesn't fill the room or the space as much as the art does. And I feel like when you kind of look around, you're like, oh shoot, this is really cool. Like there's like I like the whole gallery like feel, high end look to it. Or people friends come over, you can show them like this is they've seen cards, right? Everyone's seen
Yeah.
cards, everyone's seen comics, but like so this is actually the original frame of Trunks. Like this is hand painted by the Japanese animators. This is
Yeah.
what you saw on TV. Like you're holding in your hand what you saw on TV. Like that you can't do the same. You can't enjoy it the same as what you can the cards or the comics. I feel like it's a different level of enjoyment. So for me, like art and posters like took over my whole space. Like it's just all over. Just put up every like
No,
I
when
have
I
no
face
white space left.
yeah, when we FaceTime that first time, I was like, holy shit. Like
It's like bad. It's
how are you
extreme.
getting away with this? Like how is your wife okay with
Yeah,
this? But also like this is the most epic thing I've ever seen, and I want to do it too.
dude. Dude, it's funny because like I get that all the time. Everyone that comes over to my house is like, "Holy shit! Like your wife's a saint. Like she lets you do all this, and thankfully she understands and she likes it too. She appreciates it, and so she's cool with it. And everybody that comes over is like, dude, I'm going home and I'm doing this. Like, and then they'll send me pictures of their house or their room or their man cave, and they have a bunch of art on the wall, a bunch of posters on the wall, like cells, frames. It's like they're like, dude, because of you, like I saw this and I'm like, I want to have this. Like to me, I was always like, I don't know, I just why not enjoy it if you can't like if you can't enjoy it and you can't get it, that's why like I have all these binders of cells like I'm selling because it's like I can't enjoy them all. Let other
Hmm.
people enjoy it. Like I'd rather enjoy and take in the art that I have than just kind of have it all tucked away. So I think it's part of the fun. You just don't get that
I'm
with
so
comics or cards.
excited to like share all the layout once I'm done. But I mean, now I have two more pan cells I got to get framed, so it's gonna be longer. But yeah,
I will say it never ends. It feels like it ends. And I'm sure like Bro Namath could attest to this. Like Brian could definitely attest to this because like he'll have
yeah.
a wall done. I'd be like, oh shit, I want this piece instead of the okay, let me go buy this grail. And then he moves frames off the walls and he puts
I
new
love
frames
the
up.
way he puts stuff together with like the scripts and the
Oh yeah, he does a
and
great
yeah.
job. There's a lot of fun ways. I mean, you saw like I think plaques are really cool ways to kind of display some of the art too. You could say what it is, what episode it is,
Yeah, I'm gonna
any
end up
key
spending more
information.
on frames than I do the actual pieces.
Dude, you don't want to know how much I've
I
spent on frames, man.
I kind of want to ask, but I
I'll
think there's a ton of things I feel like I want to talk to you about. I mean, we didn't even talk about like comics and all that stuff, but
Yeah, no,
I
and that's fine. We could do that.
yeah, I don't want to go for we're at an hour and 45 minutes. I don't want to go
Oh,
forever.
jeez.
But I appreciate you coming on. I'd love to just get like one little last piece of advice or like some sort of
Yeah,
um end piece to
closing note. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I think if you are interested in like joining the space, you could either reach out to either of us. Follow us on Instagram, PokeRadar and StreyFlexin Collectibles, and you could ask us any questions you have. I mean, we're both willing obviously to help out. If you kind of are scared, you want to buy your first piece but you don't know if it's authentic or what you should pay, we're obviously willing to kind of offer our advice and help. And I think the main thing is just kind of collect what you love. Obviously, at the end of the day, these pieces are, this is not investment advice. These pieces are worth what you're willing to pay for it. And I to me, and it's similar to you, like once you have a gut feeling about something, if you really like it, I feel like other people really like it as well, right? So if you have a good feeling about it, it's generally something that's right. But yeah, we're happy to help, and any information that you guys are looking for or wanting, just feel free to reach out. It's a fun space. It's easy to get over your head in it. It's very easy, as a
Yeah.
lot of the new
Yeah.
people can attest to.
Yeah.
But I think it's very enjoyable, and a lot of the people are very friendly and willing to help. And you just talk to them, reach out to a lot of people in the community, and I'm sure you're gonna have more wonderful guests on that people could
Yes.
also reach out to. So
Yeah, I'm gonna have
Excited to
to.
see that.
I'll need your help too on picking
No
some
problem.
more. I already, we've got a few in mind, but I also want to do some like group conversations too. I think that'll be fun, and then we can get some
Yeah.
stories about like trades and maybe make a trade happen during a video or something. That'd be fun.
Yeah, that could be cool. We
Um,
got lots of stories. A lot of us met up in France one time, so we could share that. That
yeah,
was
would
cool.
love to
That
get
was a
that
cool
group together.
experience.
But yeah,
Yeah,
no, thank you for the time, man, and hopping on and talking about this stuff. I'm really excited to keep doing these. I don't know when I'll post these yet, but I kind of want to record them all and then schedule it out. But yeah, dude,
it's a good
I'm
idea.
super
Yeah,
excited. And I'm really, like, honestly super grateful for your help and obviously selling me some cool pieces. So I really appreciate you. Like, it's you and these other guys that I'll probably have on have made these reckless decisions a lot more comfortable and easy to do, and now just the fact that I have people to talk with about the hobby, that was the most enjoyment I got out of Pokemon, was, and still do, like, some of my best friends
yeah,
are Pokemon collectors. So I'm excited that there's a solid group of people here. Like, you guys are super friendly, well educated, like, open to helping. So I it means a lot. Thank you. I appreciate you, and
yeah.
looking forward to meeting in person someday.
Definitely will. I appreciate the kind words and glad I can kind of help you get started. And I think you absolutely killed it coming out the gate with some of the best pans, being dubbed Pan Man by the community already, which is crazy.
I love it.
So
Fan, man. Yeah.
it's awesome, man. Well, thank you for having me. This has been a first great episode, I think. So I'm
Yeah.
excited to see what other guests have to say, and I'm excited to watch and keep following.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. Like, subscribe if you watched this long. But yeah, take it easy.